Hi, I'm Matt Lovell, I'm the COO of Centiq, and today I'd like to talk to you about some of the challenges we see with customers when it comes to backing up data and when they move to real-time processing, real-time analytics, and particularly when they want to take advantage of the cloud. Now let's think about this problem in terms of the pivot, and the pivot is actually where we start with our data. Now data has to be the pivot. If we think about this in terms of platforms or technology or systems, this is the wrong way about going about how customers need to transform and transition where they are today in terms of they could be operating within their existing environment on magnetic media and other forms of disk backup. And the challenges that this presents, this is probably a well-established set of processes to the business. They could replicate the data across multiple sites within their business, a hosting arrangement, or even their cloud environment. But it is the process that is controlled by system, by platform, from the data that we are trying to protect to give the business an acceptable recovery point objective and recovery time objective to deliver a business that is both consistent here in terms of if we have to move from site A to site B, or between systems if we suffer data corruption or data inconsistencies. The problem is that this is focused solely on actually recovering the data to the system rather than the data itself. If we actually look at how real-time processes then introduce the challenges and the changes in terms of our data and our recovery time objective, and indeed our recovery point objective, we begin to understand that things are taking place much faster here. We're analysing data streams, we're absorbing more data streams actually in to these real-time processes, and the business is looking to protect the continuality of that data stream in terms of all the data that's being absorbed. And if we have any interruption into that, if we have any inconsistencies, then we lose potential customer insight and customer value that's centered around these real-time processes. The likelihood is that the data has actually come in from other systems. So actually we can at speed recover our real-time processes by replaying the data between these systems rather than try to rely on recovering our data from our existing backup services. With data as the pivot, actually the emphasis here falls on the recovery point objective because this now represents seconds in terms of time to recover the data and to recover the consistency and the integrity of all of the data, all the customer insight, all of the analysis, all of the transactions that we need to protect. But as we absorb more data into this process, actually the amount of data that we're trying to protect grows significantly, and so does the challenge around our recovery time objective. That is the difference between this system becoming unavailable and this system taking over and making the same data available to the business processes. Our challenge here is actually how do we achieve a recovery time objective as this data repository grows that still meets its recovery point objective within the business that is now seconds, not minutes and not hours. And the amount of data that we're backing up here could be terabytes of data. And actually, even with the fastest technology available to us, it is very difficult to recover that within seconds. So let's start to think about how we break this part of the problem down. Because the challenge for us actually is to look at this as processes within data rather than limiting ourselves or constraining ourselves to technology, platforms, or existing business IT processes. So actually, if we think about the processes that are accessing the data here, the first thing we need to do is actually forget anything that we've had previously in our platform, turn that 90 degrees and actually start to think about the processes that are accessing the data here and what we need to do to meet the recovery time objective and the recovery point objective. This is where we focus in terms of our customer processes in looking at cloud automation. And again, this looks at it at a process level. So we are identifying the data the process needs and requires. We are looking at the recovery point objective, and again, as we break down smaller amounts of data that we actually need for the business process, we recover this element of the data rather than the entirety of the data set. and we actually move that and make that available to the process. So we achieve the seconds in terms of the recovery point objective and the recovery time objective, because this amount of data is significantly smaller, is more achievable, rather than taking a systems-based approach. So we protect the processes rather than the systems. If you'd like to find out some more information on how we approach this with our customers and how we can help you, please feel free to look at the Centiq website and reach out and give us a touch. My name's Matt Lovell. Thank you very much for watching.